We are here this evening to celebrate journalism. Good Journal was set up in 1979 with the aim of upholding freedom of speech, expression, and tonight is a testament to all of them and that their spirit lives on. The Media Foundation instituted the Chameli Devi Jain Award for Outstanding Woman Journalist in 1980. It was named after Chameli Devi Jain, a freedom fighter and a community worker who actually gone to jail in Delhi. The award was partly endowed by her family. I don't think anyone is here now.
For over 30 years, and during that period, he's worked in senior editorial positions for the Hindustan Times, the Indian Express, Telegraph. He was also the founding editor of Mail Today, and more recently, editor of the news portal Catch News. He writes on politics, domestic politics, international affairs, and he had, which many of you may have seen, a television show on Rajya Sabha TV. Sheila Bhatt has been in journalism for 40 years, and during that period has worked for print, digital, and now broadcast. She is currently with NewsX. By the way, I should mention that actually she's also a recipient of the Chameli Devi Award herself, Sheila, for the Gujarati political weekly Abhiyan. Okay. And finally, Vandita Mishra is currently, she's not with us tonight, unfortunately, but she is the National Opinion and Ideas Editor at the Indian Express and has been since 2012. She joined the Express in 2000 and has over 20 years of experience. So as I said, a very distinguished jury. And on behalf of all of us here and the Media Foundation, thank you very, very much, Bharat and Sheila, for all the hard work you put in to choosing our winner tonight. Now, if I might ask you, Bharat, to come up and read the jurors' report.
Stand here and give you the jury's report. I have never won any journalism award, and I cannot, of course, win the Chameli Devi Award. But I'm very pleased to have been part of this jury. As you know, there were 3 of us on the jury, Vandita Mishra, Sheila Bhatt and I. There were 30 nominations for the award. We examined the top 10 shortlisted entries. And I must say, at a time when one gets the impression that journalism in India is going downhill, reading these submissions filled one with tremendous hope and optimism. Each one of the 10 nominations is without doubt deserving of an award in excellent journalism. In these dire and dreary times, the reportage of these women journalists stood out as an example of brave, bold, and what one might call shining symbol of resistance journalism. Whether it was comparing 25 school textbooks to see how changes were being introduced in them to suit certain ideological and political predilections, or how the government lies about Swachh Bharat by exposing the lives of manual scavengers, or about gender bias in organ donations. Majority of organ donors in India are women, and they are not the largest recipients of organ donors. So unusual subjects and very thoroughly researched and investigated. The jury had to make up its mind to choose 1 out of the 10 for this award. Ideally, we would have liked to give more than 1 award, but unfortunately the brief was choose only 1 outstanding journalist. But I would like to emphasize that this does not in any way undermine or diminish the excellent reportage of other contestants, and I really mean it. They were absolutely, absolutely brilliant. After much deliberation, the jury chose Priyanka Dubey for the Chameli Devi Award for Outstanding Journalist of 2018 for her multifaceted, investigative, and interrogative reportage. The jury noted that Priyanka Dubey went to ground zero of some of the biggest headlines of 2018 to report on them. The mob killings in the name of the cow, the spurt in police encounters in Uttar Pradesh under the regime of Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, the continuing and the terrible toll of encephalitis in Gorakhpur in eastern UP, and the suicide of farmers across a number of Indian states are just some of the subjects she tackled. These were without doubt the major news events of 2018. In her reports, she took up these complex social and political issues of our times and uncovered the reality underlying them. Now, what distinguishes her reporting from that of others is that she showed the different facets of this reality through many voices and perspectives, through her writing, through videos, through audios, through graphics, through maps. So she told the story 3 or 4 times over from different angles. So she was able to show the reality to be layered, complex, and variegated. Above all, her empathetic and humane reporting stood out for constantly and systematically chipping away at the impersonality and distance that can all too often and so easily lull faraway and distracted audiences. Her reports put these issues center stage, making it much more difficult for readers to look away. Her journalistic range is extraordinary and her investigative skills extremely thorough. Whether it is a series of reports on legal loopholes which allow cow vigilantes to go scot-free, the fake encounters of Uttar Pradesh, the report of agrarian distress, or heart-rending stories of mothers who lost their babies to encephalitis, or those living with children deformed by the disease, or a moving profile of rebel poet Gorakh Pandey based on his letters to his father, they form a body of work that seems essential reading for understanding our times. Priyanka Dubey's reports show that she knows what she wants to convey, and she is able to do so in a structured, lucid, and interesting manner. At each point in her report, she questions the establishment and its truth without using an ideological sledgehammer or being preachy. Through her work, Priyanka Dubey upholds the highest traditions of journalism in a democracy. For all these reasons, the jury came to the conclusion that Priyanka Dubey richly deserves the Chameli Devi Award for Outstanding Woman Journalist of the Year 2018. Thank you.
Chameli Devi Jain Award for an Outstanding Woman Journalist 2018. Priyanka Dubey is awarded the Chameli Devi Jain Award for an Outstanding Woman Journalist of 2018 in recognition of her exceptional work as a bilingual correspondent for BBC Hindi. She is recognized for brilliantly forging the media's most effective instrument, investigative journalism. It is a genre that demands diligence, dedication, and determination in the face of official indifference and social prejudices. And Priyanka's stories on the legal trials of mob lynching cases and on fake encounters in Uttar Pradesh bear testimony to the very best of journalistic commitment. Priyanka is also recognized because her work is informed by a deepened sense of empathy, once regarded as an essential predisposition in a journalist, but no longer. Her 3-part series on the mothers of Gorakhpur who lost their babies to encephalitis is a moving documentation of bureaucratic neglect and a dereliction of duty, and shows a collapse of the health system in eastern Uttar Pradesh. Priyanka is recognized because her works reflect a refreshing commitment and awareness of issues of social justice and equity, so exquisitely demonstrated in a series on farmer suicide and agrarian distress. This series manifests Priyanka's unflagging interest and involvement with the story, an engagement with human pain and deprivation, and a determination to shed journalistic light on a corner of darkness and misery. Priyanka is recognized for something that fundamental trait of any journalistic endeavor, a capacity for outrage at injustice and corruption, as so competently displayed in her coverage and commentary on the trial of Asaram, the fallen god-man. The same capacity for outrage informs a series on rape victims across the land. Priyanka Dubey is recognized and honored for her professional integrity and intellectual conscientiousness in pursuit of stories of miscarriage of justice and violation of civil liberties. She is applauded above all for displaying a rather elusive quality, a duty to question authority and a duty to question the powerful. It is in recognition of all these very qualities that she is being presented the 2018 Chameli Devi Jain Award for an Outstanding Woman Journalist. Thank you. May I now request Ms. Ansari to give her these.
Just a second, one more photo with the jury members, please. I'm so sorry. I beg your pardon. Would Bharat and Sheila please join us for a photograph? Thank you. Come along. Come on. No, you have to come forward. I'm so sorry. Priyanka, I think it's now your chance to say a few words to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a very overwhelming moment. I've made up a couple of points that I wanted to share with everyone on this important occasion. I would like to start by thanking the Media Foundation and all the jury members for finding my work worthy of this prestigious award. While standing here, I'm very much aware of the magnificent and much celebrated legacy of this distinguished award, and also of the remarkable body of work that all my predecessors have. And this makes me feel very fortunate, full of gratitude, humbled, a little nervous, and a lot more responsible. This award is most special to me because it's largely the recognition of my last year's work published in BBC's Hindi website, Hindi news service, multiple platforms. I've reported and filed in both Hindi and English languages for past 9 years now, but in my limited experience, I often felt that the extraordinary and important journalism happening in vernacular languages often go unnoticed just because the mainstream opinion makers cannot understand these languages. So I want to take this opportunity to root for good journalism happening in all languages across India. This recognition reconfirms my already strong faith in the power of a good story. A good story done in any language, published in any platform, in any hidden corner of the world, is bound to shine. Once published, a good story almost takes the form of a powerful flowing river, which sooner or later reaches to everyone who is seeking it and its impact. It's bound to serve public interest as well. But a good story also takes a lot out of you. Sure it does. I came to journalism 9 years ago with a lot of idealism, a lot of anger about multiple forms of inequalities and injustice that I saw around me while growing up. And I wanted to change things. So I started from my home. I was born in a small town and in a fairly conservative family, which had absolutely zero background in journalism, literature, or any kind of reading, so to speak. Nobody in my family was initially happy when I told them that I wanted to get myself enrolled in a journalism course after passing school. I had to resist a lot, and the resistance went on for days. It's difficult for me to talk about this in detail here, but what I can say is that the prospects of me working odd hours, frequently traveling, going to public places like police stations, courts, and meeting a lot of strange men was initially very intimidating for my family. Many of my relatives would often feed my parents that a profession which involves so much movement of a woman is disrespectful and ought to be disrespectful. I had to go through a long dark tunnel to free myself from the burden of this imposed respect in order to find my own way. And after 9 years, I think I've seen finally a bit of sunshine, but the darkness of the tunnel often keeps coming back every now and then, and it's a constant struggle. The battles that I had fought on my domestic fronts were often so difficult and hurtful to go through that finally when I stepped out, the outside world, even with all its difficulties and trappings, felt easy to cope with. Sure, reporting was tough, and writing was tougher and lonely. And 9 years have passed away like a blur. This has undoubtedly been the most gratifying journey because reporting constantly makes you learn and unlearn things. One such learning that I have gained is that any good story, or for that matter, sustaining reporting on important subjects over the year, requires giving up a lot of your personal life. and the situation becomes more challenging if you happen to be a woman reporter. But on the other hand, the opportunity to work on an array of urgent issues like religious intolerance, gender crimes, collapsing health systems, hunger, agriculture crisis, mob lynchings, etc., that I've covered during the past decade had pushed me to look at the world with a more nuanced mind and a more compassionate heart. My investigations on human trafficking, child abuse, caste-based violence, rapes, rights of the marginalized have altered me deeply, to my bone. While these reports have made me aware of many of the blind spots that exist in Indian democracy today, they have also made me understand two important points. First is the huge importance of sustained reporting on issues like health, farmer suicide, gender, subjects which might appear and often do appear mundane, old, repetitive to the quote-unquote mainstream media. Second is the extreme significance of holding power to account and just standing tall in favor of pro-people public interest journalism. As a reporter, my first and foremost commitment is to the truth, the common people of this country, and above all, to the last man standing on the margins of Indian democracy. But this journey would not have been possible without the help, guidance, and companionship of so many people because of whom I'm standing here today. My former editor, Sanjay Dubey, former and first editor actually, who trusted the reporter in me in my initial years, Nisha Suzanne and Vinod K. Josh, who always had unflinching faith in my capabilities as a reporter. My editors here at the BBC, a big shout out to Rupa Jha, who was no less than a force of nature and leads all Indian languages at BBC. Mukesh Sharma, for encouraging public interest journalism throughout. Journalism which is often tedious, time consuming and painstaking, and for being the feminist editor that he is. Rajesh Joshi, for picking up the weed from my long copies, and the brilliant Visjo team headed by Shadab Nazmi at BBC for injecting life in my stories through their illustrations. Brajesh Singh, my oldest friend, बहुत गरीबी के दिनों वाला दोस्त, 10 रुपए की कटिंग चाय वाला दोस्त. Prashant, Himanshu ji, Divya, all my BBC colleagues who are here, some of them are here to cheer me today, and all my wonderful friends and family, who have helped me in my way. The network, I want to acknowledge the Network for Women in Indian Media for providing guidance and support to me when I needed it most. To all my sources and to the wonderful, extraordinary and generous army of regional and local reporters who are my true strength and who have helped me throughout and have stood by me, in rainy days when I would do stories. When I used to do stories on extremely shoestring budgets, they opened their hearts and their homes to me, and allowed me to sleep even next to their children in some cases. Without them, I would have been lost. And to the people who trusted me with their stories foremost, I am really grateful to them, to all those who shared their stories with me. My husband, who is sitting here in the front row, for loving and supporting me without ever keeping any conditions. My in-laws, my parents, who have endured many sufferings and made numerous sacrifices for me. And most importantly, this award belongs to my unlettered mother, who taught me compassion and did everything that was possible in her capacity to ensure that I can have one more hour to read. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Priyanka, for those inspiring thoughts.